our skills. Okay, everybody. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to walk you through how to set up an interior space in one-point perspective. And I want you to notice that the first thing I did here is I went ahead and put a vanishing point at the center of my page. Now, the second thing I'm going to have you do, which I've already done and you can kind of see the sketch of it, is I'm going to go ahead and put a rectangle shape around that vanishing point. The rectangle shape is going to guide where a lot of the walls go and the ceilings go. And for our purposes here, this rectangle space, we can imagine it like a back wall. So what that's going to mean for us is that the corners of the room, the floor and the wall corners, are all going to converge towards that point. Now, previously we said that you have to connect the vanishing point to an angle, whether it's an inside or an outside angle. But what I want you to understand for this is that it's not going to connect straight away here. This is the wall, but it is going to connect from the outside. So I can go ahead and line up my vanishing point and my angle, and I'm going to go ahead and extend it, use my ruler and extend it all the way out. And I can do that on all of the sides. So I line up my corner and I extend it outwards. And I'll line up my corner here. Now notice these don't hit the corner of my paper. It doesn't matter if those lines go to the corner of your paper. It just matters that they're consistent with the vanishing point. So just like the example of the black hole, all those lines have to go towards the vanishing point. It's just not important whether or not they hit the corner of your page. Now, one of the things that happened when we found parallel partners before is that a lot of our shapes, particularly square shapes or rectangle shapes, became trapezoids. And let's look at what will happen if we make like a window on the side here. So what I did to start is I have a parallel line that is parallel with the wall, as most windows are going to be parallel to the frame of the inside of a room. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the top point of my line. So this is where our rules are going to bend a little bit. If this is going to be a window, ultimately it's going to become an angle. So we can go ahead and connect this point to the vanishing point. So let's do that. I'm going to connect the bottom of this line to the vanishing point and extend it out just a little bit. And now I'm going to connect this vanishing point to the top line and extend that out a little bit as well. So what I'm ending up with here is basically the top and the bottom of a window space. Now, like before, I'm going to need a parallel partner. So I'm going to slide my straight edge over, and I'm going to make a straight line that closes off the shape. And I can get rid of anything extra. Gone. But now I have a window shape. Now this is pretty impressive because it's actually a trapezoid, but our brains, from living in the world and having this embodied or lived experience, recognize this as a rectangle that's just getting smaller and converging towards the vanishing point. Now there's a couple things I can do here to add the illusion of depth in the window. So notice what I'm doing is I'm keeping my straight edge parallel with the floor, and I'm going to make a little bit of a rectangle shape on the inside here. Now, what this rectangle is going to do, and I'm going to have to keep it parallel to the original line as well, so I have to be pretty careful here. But what it's going to do is it's going to be a depth. It's going to show depth inside of the window. So this wall is no longer flat, but it's got a little bit of space inside of it. Focus that in a bit more for you. Now, I have a corner. So my rule has been consistently, if I have a corner, I'm going to connect it to the vanishing point. I'm only going to stop it when I hit another shape. So let me go ahead and stretch that out. And I'm going to go ahead on this side here, connect it to the corner and stretch it out. And now I have this more solid illusion that here's the wall, here's the back wall, side wall, ceiling, and a window space, and I can see my way on the outside. Now, often the vanishing point for our purposes today is going to connect to the horizon line. So let's just go ahead and draw that horizon in through the back, and we're really on our way, doing quite well. So what we're going to need to do next is just remember that if this is the corner between the floor and the wall, so is this. If I wanted to add something in like a doorway, my job would be to keep it parallel, first of all, to the corner of the room. And then I would have to do a pretty good estimation of how big the door is going to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend this door up to about here. So you can see it's a little bit higher, closer to the ceiling than the window is. And I will do my same practice as before, but I don't need to do it for the bottom because the bottom's already there. So I'm just going to connect to the top line now this time, extend it across. Let me see if I can do it straight though. And I can drop it down to close the shape. So what I'm going to end up with then is another trapezoid, but this one, because it's closer to this wall, is going to be a little bit smaller than the one here. Now, let's go to another place. I'm going to go down to the bottom area of the floor here, and I'm going to draw in just a small rectangle to start. And I'm going to close out the sides. And this is going to help us kind of practice what we have done so far. So I'm going to draw a couple lines down here. And it's going to look kind of like a stubby pie symbol. So I'm going to bring it down to here. And what we're going to make is just a small table here right on the floor. We're going to call it a day. Now, like we've done in the past, we've said anytime you have an angle, let's connect it unless it hits something. So let's start at the top. This one, I can see it. I want to connect it out. This one, I can see it. I can connect it out. I'm going to bring it back. This one, let's see if I can see it. Some of it, but then it hits the bottom of the shape, so I'm going to stop it right there. This one, I can see it, but then it hits the side, so I'll stop it. This one, I'm going to bring it back and close it out. Now, just like we did with our letters last week and this week, I'm going to need a parallel partner. Now, my parallel partner is going to be parallel to the first line. So if my table is square, I'm going to go ahead and close it off right here. And then I'm going to set up for a second part over here. Now, this line has to be parallel to this line right here because this is the edge of the table, the side of the table. And I'm going to drop this down. And now I've got it. But I can also extend some of my work from this past week as well. Let me go ahead and close off these shapes as well so that these legs look a little bit more, that's just like one piece. So now I can show some kind of an overlapping shape too, or a little bit of space. So let's say I'm using the same lines going back to the vanishing point. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to extend them up just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and close off this shape. So let's say we've got double coffee tables, right? Maybe you and your sibling, you guys just absolutely cannot share a coffee table. And so 2 coffee tables are necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this line down here. I'm going to go ahead and line these points up just to see where it would hit. I'm going to drop this one down. You can see I have a little space in between. I'm going to drop my next one and my next one. And then I guess this one will probably actually close off right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment. And let's go ahead and drop down the shapes. So we've got one. So now I can show, like we've been practicing with our shapes I think it was last Thursday, is that I can have a little bit of overlap. So I'm going to close this shape off, make a parallel partner. I'm going to make sure that I've got a line going back from the side. Now this line's going to be super thin, but I'm still going to keep it, and I'm still going to try to draw what I can. So we talked about this with the shapes. You have to let the ruler decide what you're going to include, not what you think you should include. Okay? I'm going to have a little bit of a cutoff here, maybe a little bit of a cutoff here. But now I went ahead and I have two separate tables in this room space that are kind of nicely set up. Now, the last thing that we're going to do today is I'm going to add a little bit of a carpet. Now, a carpet's going to be fairly easy. We're going to think of this like a little rug. So I just added one line through the bottom here. And like the window, I'm going to throw in a line going back to the vanishing point. I'm going to throw in a line going back to the vanishing point over here. You're going to notice it's going to get really close to the edge here. It's going to kind of disappear. And then I can close off my shape even below where the other one ends. So now I've got these two small tables converging to the vanishing point. I've got a window converging to the vanishing point, a door converging to the vanishing point, and I'm really in a solid space now where I've only done probably under between 30 and 40 lines here. And these lines already are giving the illusion that things are moving backwards in space, just like they do in our real experience.